When you look at the world carefully, you realize something very simple. Power does not belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the calmest. It belongs to the one who speaks less, reveals less, and reacts less. This is the essence of mystery, and mystery is not weakness. Mystery is controlled silence. It is the art of knowing everything about others while allowing them to know almost nothing about you. This is the energy that echoes through the philosophy of Niccolo Machiavelli, a man who understood human nature better than most saints and kings. Most people destroy their own power because they talk too much. They explain too much. They defend themselves too much. They try too hard to be understood. But the moment you start explaining yourself to everyone, you give them access to your intentions. And when people know your intentions, they know how to control you. A mysterious person cannot be controlled easily because no one can predict their next move. Think about it. The strongest person in any situation is the one who is unreal. Someone insults you and you do not react. They feel uncomfortable. When someone tries to provoke you and you simply observe them, they lose balance. Your silence becomes heavier than their noise. Your calm becomes more powerful than their anger. This is psychological dominance without raising your voice. Machiavelli taught that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But fear does not mean cruelty. It means unpredictability. It means people should not feel comfortable crossing your boundaries. When you are too available, too emotional, too desperate to be liked, people start seeing you as replaceable. But when you are reserved, disciplined, and selective with your energy, people start valuing your presence. Being mysterious does not mean being rude. It means you do not reveal your plans until they are complete. It means you move in silence and let results make the noise. The world laughs at ideas but respects outcomes. If you announce every goal, people will either mock you or try to compete with you. But if you build quietly, they will only see the finished product, and by then it will be too late to stop you. Power also comes from emotional control. The average person reacts. The powerful person responds. The weak person begs. The powerful person decides. When you beg for attention, for love, for respect, you immediately lower your value. The world does not reward desperation. It rewards confidence, and confidence is silent. It does not chase. It attracts. Never beg, not for love, not for friendship, not for opportunities. If someone wants to leave, let them leave. If someone underestimates you, let them. If someone ignores you, ignore them back with dignity. Begging is a public announcement that you believe you have no options. And once people sense you have no options, they treat you accordingly. The person who never begs operates from abundance. Even if they have little, they carry themselves as if they have enough. That energy changes everything. When you stop chasing validation, people start wondering about you. When you stop seeking approval, people start respecting you. When you stop explaining yourself, people start trying to understand you. There is a dark beauty in restraint. In a world where everyone overshares their thoughts, emotions, and weaknesses, the one who keeps their inner world private becomes rare, and rarity creates value. Diamonds are expensive not because they shout, but because they are scarce. Machiavelli understood that appearances shape reality. If you appear desperate, you will be treated as desperate. If you appear stable and composed, even when you are struggling internally, the world will respond to that image. Control the image, and you control the perception. Control perception, and you control influence. Powerful people do not reveal their pain to everyone. They choose carefully who earns access to their vulnerability. They understand that sympathy is cheap, but respect is expensive. Anyone can feel sorry for you. Very few will respect you. And respect is built through strength, not complaint. You must train yourself to observe more than you speak. Watch how people act when they think no one is judging them. Watch how they treat those who cannot benefit them. Watch their patterns. The more you observe, the less you will be surprised. And the less surprised you are, the more controlled you remain. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. When you say less, every word gains weight. When you are not constantly available, your time becomes valuable. When you are not emotionally reactive, your presence becomes intimidating. There is a reason why kings rarely spoke in public. Their words carried consequence. Wow. Today, people give away their thoughts freely on every platform to everyone, at all times. And then they wonder why no one takes them seriously. Mystery creates gravity, and gravity pulls people in. But remember, being mysterious is not about playing games. It is about discipline. It is about mastering your impulses. When you feel the urge to respond immediately, pause. When you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. When you feel the urge to beg someone to stay, pause. That pause is power. The person who can walk away without drama holds more strength than the person who fights to stay. Detachment is terrifying to those who try to control you. If someone knows you cannot live without them, they own you. But if they sense that you can leave at any moment, they treat you carefully. This is why never begging is a rule of self-respect. Begging teaches others how little you value yourself, and people treat you based on the value you communicate. Machiavelli wrote about rulers and kingdoms, but his lessons apply to everyday life. Your kingdom is your mind. Your emotions are your citizens. If you cannot rule your emotions, you cannot rule your life. Discipline your thoughts. Control your reactions. Choose your battles wisely. Power is not loud dominance. It is quiet certainty. It is knowing that you do not need to convince anyone of your worth. It is knowing that those who see your value will stay and those who do not are not meant to. When you become mysterious, you stop seeking attention. When you stop seeking attention, you start building substance. And substance always outlives noise. So build your life in silence. Improve your body in silence. Increase your knowledge in silence. Strengthen your finances in silence. Heal your trauma in silence. Let people underestimate you. Let them doubt you. Their doubt is your shield. It hides your growth. And when the time comes, let your success speak. Not with arrogance, but with presence. Walk into rooms without announcing yourself. Speak only when necessary. Make promises rarely, but keep them always. Never beg for a seat at the table. Build your own table. Never beg for respect. Earn it through consistency. Never beg for love. Become someone who loves themselves enough to walk away. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. It is understanding that your energy is limited and not everyone deserves access to it. If you master mystery, you master perception. If you master perception, you master influence. And if you master influence, you master power. Be calm when others panic. Be silent when others argue. Be still when others chase. In that stillness, you will find your authority. The world belongs to those who can control themselves. And self-control begins with one simple principle: never beg. Stand tall, speak less, observe more, reveal little, move wisely, and let your presence carry a quiet warning. You are not to be played with. That is power. There is something almost unsettling about a person who cannot be read. In a world addicted to constant expression, constant updates, constant validation, the individual who chooses restraint immediately stands apart. People are drawn to what they cannot fully understand. They lean in closer. They analyze. They speculate, though full. And in that space of uncertainty, you gain control without demanding it. This is the psychological edge that echoes through the mindset of Niccolo Machiavelli. He understood that human beings are driven more by perception than by truth. People react not to who you truly are, but to who they believe you are. And when you control what they believe, you control the game without ever announcing that you're playing. When you reveal every emotion instantly, you surrender leverage. When you post every thought, share every struggle, confess every insecurity, you train the world to see you as predictable. Predictability is comfort, but it is not power. Power exists in controlled unpredictability, not chaos, but discipline. Not drama, but depth. Think about the individuals who command respect without speaking loudly. They do not argue to prove their intelligence. They do not chase to prove their importance. They do not complain to prove their suffering. They carry themselves with an energy that says, "I am complete on my own." That energy shifts how people approach them. When you never beg, you communicate abundance. You silently declare that you have standards. And standards create boundaries. Boundaries create respect. The moment you lower your standards to keep someone in your life, you show them that you fear losing them. And fear is something people can sense instantly. Once they sense fear, the balance changes. Never beg for love. If someone wants to walk away, open the door for them calmly. That calmness will disturb them more than tears ever could. Never beg for opportunities. If one door closes, you build another. That confidence unsettles those who expected you to collapse. Never beg for attention. If someone ignores you, let your silence become their curiosity. There is strength in detachment, not coldness, not cruelty, but controlled detachment. The ability to care deeply without clinging desperately. The ability to invest without losing yourself. The ability to walk away without breaking your dignity. Machiavelli observed rulers who lost their kingdoms because they craved approval. They wanted to be loved at any cost. They avoided making hard decisions because they feared criticism. And in doing so, they appeared weak. Leadership requires emotional discipline. Life requires the same. When someone disrespects you and you respond with composure instead of chaos, you immediately rise above them. When someone tries to provoke you and you refuse to play their game, you win without fighting. Reaction is a form of surrender. Response is a form of strategy. Mystery also protects you. The less people know about your ambitions, the harder it is for them to sabotage you. The less they understand your weaknesses, the harder it is for them to manipulate you. Privacy is protection. Silence is armor. In relationships, mystery maintains attraction. In business, it maintains leverage. In social settings, it maintains intrigue. The person who speaks only when necessary is often heard more clearly than the person who never stops talking. And remember, mystery does not mean isolation. It means selectivity. It means not everyone earns access to your inner world. It means vulnerability is given to the deserving, not displayed for applause. Powerful individuals conserve their energy. They do not argue with fools. They do not compete with everyone. They do not respond to every criticism. They choose their battles carefully because they understand something simple. Attention is currency. Where you place your attention determines your power. When you beg, you place your power in someone else's hands. When you demand validation, you give others authority over your self-worth. When you chase constantly, a signal that you believe you are not enough. But when you stand firm, even in silence, you communicate self-sufficiency. And self-sufficiency is magnetic. Imagine walking into a room without the need to impress anyone. Imagine speaking slowly, confidently, without oversharing. Imagine listening more than you talk. Imagine smiling slightly instead of explaining yourself. That subtle restraint changes how people perceive you. The world is loud. Be quiet. The world is desperate. Be disciplined. The world is reactive. Be composed. There will be moments when you feel the urge to break this rule. Moments when loneliness tempts you to beg someone to stay. Moments when rejection tempts you to explain your worth. Moments when anger tempts you to react instantly. Those moments are tests. Ooh. And every time you choose silence over desperation, you level up. Real power is not in dominating others. It is in mastering yourself. The one who controls their emotions cannot be controlled by anyone else. Never beg. Because the moment you beg, you negotiate your value. And your value is not up for negotiation. Be mysterious, not to manipulate, but to protect your depth. Be powerful, not to intimidate, but to command respect. And never beg, because dignity once lost is hard to reclaim. Move in silence. Build in silence. Heal in silence. Win in silence. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them underestimate, and when the time comes, let your results answer every question they once had about you. Understand this clearly. The world studies weakness faster than it studies strength. People may not consciously admit it, but they are always scanning for signals. Signals of confidence, signals of insecurity, signals of desperation. The moment you appear needy, the dynamic shifts. The moment you appear self-contained, the dynamic shifts in your favor. Mystery is not about pretending to be cold. It is about being centered. When you are centered, you do not rush to fill silence. You do not rush to defend yourself. You do not rush to prove loyalty. You allow time to reveal truth. And time always exposes who is genuine and who is temporary. The philosophy of Niccolo Machiavelli was rooted in observing reality, not fantasy. He understood that human beings are influenced by what they see, not what they are told. If you look unshaken, people assume strength. If you look desperate, people assume weakness. Whether fair or unfair, perception shapes treatment. So discipline your outward reactions. Even if your mind feels chaotic, train your face to remain calm. Even if your heart feels heavy, train your posture to remain upright. This is not hypocrisy, it is self-command. Your emotions are real, but they should not control your strategy. There is a quiet intimidation in someone who does not overshare. When people cannot figure you out, they project their own assumptions onto you. And most of the time, they project strength onto silence. They assume depth where there is restraint. They assume confidence where there is calm. But when you constantly explain yourself, you shrink your own aura. Over-explaining is often hidden insecurity. You want to be understood so badly that you forget something important. Not everyone deserves to understand you. Never beg also means never forcing connection. If someone pulls away, let them. If someone stops calling, let the silence stretch. If someone distances themselves, observe who returns without being chased. The ones who value you will circle back. The ones who do not were only passing through. There is a difference between effort and begging. Effort is mutual. Begging is one-sided. Effort is dignified. Begging is self-erasing. Power grows in the space where you are willing to lose what does not respect you. When you cling to someone who clearly shows indifference, you send a message. I accept less. Standards are invisible boundaries. Once they lower, everything that enters your life lowers with them. A mysterious person protects their standards fiercely. They do not announce them loudly. They simply enforce them quietly. If someone crosses a line, they reduce access. No shouting, no drama. Just distance. Distance is powerful. It creates clarity. It forces others to reflect. It protects your peace. Many people fear silence because silence forces introspection. That is why they fill every moment with noise, distraction, or attention-seeking behavior. But the person who is comfortable alone cannot be emotionally blackmailed. The one who enjoys their own company cannot be threatened with abandonment. This is why solitude builds power. When you sit alone long enough, you confront your fears. You confront your insecurities. You confront your dependency on validation. And once you face those things, they lose control over you. Mystery grows naturally from inner stability. When you are secure, you do not feel the need to broadcast every achievement. You do not feel the need to compete loudly. You do not feel the need to respond to every insult. Insults only disturb those who secretly doubt themselves. If someone calls you incapable and you truly believe in your competence, their words bounce off you. But if you are unsure of yourself, their words pierce deeply. That is why inner work matters more than outer image. True power is quiet because it does not need witnesses. Look at people who are truly successful. They rarely announce every move. They make decisions calmly. They listen more than they speak. They give little away emotionally in high-pressure situations. Their strength lies in control, and control begins with emotional discipline. When you feel anger rising, breathe. When you feel jealousy rising, reflect. When you feel desperation rising, detach. These micro moments of self-control compound over time into an unshakable presence. Never beg also applies to your dreams. Do not beg the world to believe in your vision. Build it anyway. Do not beg people to support you. Support yourself first. When you start moving with certainty, supporters appear naturally. Chasing approval exhausts you. Chasing growth strengthens you. The person who is constantly trying to impress others is rarely improving themselves. But the person who is silently improving themselves eventually impresses everyone without trying. Mystery adds gravity to your character. People sense that there is more beneath the surface. They respect what they cannot fully access. But be careful. Mystery without substance is emptiness. You must build depth internally. Read more, train harder, think deeper, observe human behavior, understand psychology, strengthen your skills. That is what makes your silence meaningful. Otherwise, silence becomes avoidance. Be mysterious, but be evolving. Be powerful, but be disciplined. Never beg, but always grow. There will be times when life humbles you, when rejection stings, when loneliness whispers, when failure tests your confidence. In those moments, remember this: dignity is more valuable than temporary comfort. It is better to walk alone with self-respect than to kneel for companionship. It is better to lose someone than to lose yourself. And it is better to be misunderstood in silence than to be disrespected in desperation. Carry yourself with restraint. Speak with intention. Move with strategy. Protect your energy. Let others reveal themselves fully while you reveal yourself slowly. Let them underestimate your patience. Let them misunderstand your silence. Let them mistake your calm for weakness. Because when the time comes to act, when the time comes to rise, when the time comes to succeed, your results will break every illusion they once had about you. That is the quiet dominance of mystery. That is the discipline of power. And that is the unshakable rule: never beg.